The chest pain started on a Wednesday. I ignored it. That decision almost killed me. But here's what you need to understand. I wasn't stupid. I wasn't reckless. I was a man who'd built a construction company from nothing, who'd worked through broken ribs, pneumonia, and a herniated disc. Pain was just noise. Weakness was for other people. I was 52 years old and I'd never taken a sick day in my life. I wore that like a badge of honor, right up until the moment I collapsed on my office floor, clutching my chest, tasting metal in my mouth, and realizing with perfect clarity that I'd been wrong about everything. Let me tell you how I got there. Maybe you'll recognize yourself. It started years before the actual attack. Small things I dismissed. A tightness in my chest when I climbed stairs. Shortness of breath that I blamed on being out of shape. A persistent exhaustion I convinced myself was just part of being busy. My wife, Sarah, noticed first. "You look gray," she said one morning, her hand cool against my forehead. The concern in her eyes made me uncomfortable, like she was seeing something I wasn't ready to admit. "I'm fine," I told her. "Just tired." "You're always tired, David. When's the last time you had a physical?" I couldn't remember. 5 years? Maybe more? "I'll schedule one," I lied. I never did. Because here's the thing, and be honest with yourself right now, when was the last time you actually went to the doctor when you felt something was wrong? Not when it was unbearable, when it was just off. Most of us don't. We're too busy, too important, too convinced that our bodies will just handle it. Mine didn't. The warning signs got louder. Indigestion that wouldn't quit. Pain in my left arm I blamed on sleeping wrong. A jaw ache I attributed to grinding my teeth. Night sweats that soaked through my shirt. I ignored every single one. You know why? Because I'd built my entire identity on being the guy who never stopped. The guy who outworked everyone. The guy who showed up no matter what. Stopping meant weakness. Weakness meant failure. So I pushed harder. I was running 3 job sites, bidding on 2 more, dealing with union disputes, managing payroll for over 200 employees. I got to the office at 5 a.m. I left at 8 p.m. I ate lunch in my truck between sites, usually fast food, whatever was quick. Sleep was 4, maybe 5 hours a night. Exercise was a joke. Who had time? My last meal before the heart attack was a double cheeseburger, large fries, and a Coke I drank while reviewing contracts. I remember the grease on my fingers, the salt stinging a cut on my thumb, the fluorescent lights of my office buzzing overhead like angry wasps. I remember thinking I needed to replace those lights. I never got the chance. The pain started around 2 p.m. A pressure in my chest, like someone was sitting on my sternum. I rubbed at it absently, figured it was the burger. Bad heartburn. I'd had it before. I took an antacid and kept working. By 3 p.m., the pressure had spread to my shoulders. Both of them, a deep ache that made me roll my neck, trying to loosen muscles I assumed were tight from stress. At 4 p.m., my left arm went numb. That's when the first whisper of fear crept in. But I had a call scheduled at 4:30, an important client, a deal that could bring in $500,000 in revenue. I couldn't cancel. I wouldn't cancel. So I stayed. The call lasted 45 minutes. I don't remember most of it. I remember my vision getting narrow, like I was looking through a tunnel. I remember sweat dripping down my back despite the air conditioning running full blast. The cold air on my skin felt like ice water, but inside, I was burning. I remember the client asking if I was okay. "Fine," I said, "just a long day." When the call ended, I stood up. That's when my chest exploded. Not pain, agony, a crushing, suffocating weight that drove me to my knees. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The room spun, tilting sideways, and I had one crystal clear thought: I'm dying, and I did this to myself. I grabbed for my phone, knocked it off the desk, watched it skitter across the floor, impossibly far away. I tried to crawl toward it. My left arm wouldn't work. The floor was cold against my cheek. I could smell the cleaning solution the crew used overnight. Lemon and chemical, too sharp, making my eyes water. Or maybe I was crying. I don't know how long I lay there, time stretched and compressed. Could have been seconds, could have been hours. My office manager found me. 23 years old, her first real job out of college. She screamed when she saw me. I heard it from very far away, like I was underwater. The ambulance arrived in 8 minutes. Felt like forever. They put me on a gurney, stuck an IV in my arm, strapped an oxygen mask over my face. The paramedic, young guy, couldn't have been older than 25, kept talking to me, asking me questions. Do you have chest pain? Rate it 1 to 10. 10. 1,000. There wasn't a number high enough. Are you on any medications? No. Any history of heart disease in your family? My father died at 55. Heart attack. Why hadn't I remembered that before now? The ambulance siren screamed through traffic. Every bump in the road sent fresh waves of agony through my chest. I stared at the ceiling, watching the lights blur past through the small window, and thought about all the things I'd never said. Sarah. I'd never told her enough how much she meant to me, my kids. When was the last time I'd really talked to them? Not about their grades or their problems, but really listened. My father. I'd promised myself I wouldn't end up like him, and here I was following his exact path. They wheeled me into the ER, bright lights, voices shouting medical terminology I didn't understand. Someone cut my shirt off, cold hands on my chest, the shock of defibrillator pads being attached to my skin. A doctor's face appeared above me. Woman, maybe 40, with kind eyes behind her glasses. Mr. Morrison, you're having a heart attack. We need to take you to surgery immediately. Do you understand? I nodded. Is there anyone we should call? My wife, I whispered. Sarah. They wheeled me away. I woke up 36 hours later in ICU. Tubes everywhere, machines beeping, a dull ache in my chest where they'd opened me up and bypassed 3 blocked arteries. 3. The cardiologist explained it to me later after Sarah had cried herself out and gone to get coffee. You're lucky to be alive, he said, reviewing my charts. Your LAD was 95% blocked. We call that the widowmaker. Most people with that don't make it to the hospital. Lucky. I'd almost died because I was too stubborn to listen to my own body, and I was lucky. How long? I asked. How long was this building up? Years, he said. Your cholesterol is through the roof. Blood pressure's been uncontrolled for God knows how long. You're pre-diabetic. When's the last time you saw a doctor? I couldn't answer. Mr. Morrison, your lifestyle nearly killed you. If you want to see 60, something has to change. Everything has to change. I nodded. But I didn't believe him. Not really. Because even lying there, chest cracked open, body broken, I was already thinking about work, about the jobs I was missing, about the money we were losing every day I wasn't on site. I was already planning my comeback. It took another week before reality hit. They made me do cardiac rehab, walk on a treadmill at the slowest setting while they monitored my heart. I made it 3 minutes before I had to stop, gasping, chest tight, legs shaking. 3 minutes. I used to work 12-hour days in 100-degree heat. Now I couldn't walk for 3 minutes. That's when I finally understood. I wasn't invincible. I never had been. I'd just been lucky. And my luck had run out. The recovery was brutal, not just physically, mentally. You don't realize how much of your identity is wrapped up in what you can do until you can't do it anymore. I couldn't lift anything heavier than 10 pounds, couldn't drive, couldn't work, couldn't be the man I'd always been. I had to learn to ask for help. Do you know how hard that is when you've spent your entire life being the strong one? Sarah had to help me shower. My 23-year-old office manager had to run my company. My kids had to see their father, the guy who'd always had all the answers, reduced to shuffling around the house in a bathrobe, exhausted from walking to the mailbox. It broke something in me, but it also fixed something. For the first time in 30 years, I was home for dinner, every night. I couldn't work, so I had no excuse. I got to know my kids again, really know them. My daughter was applying to graduate schools. I'd missed that entire conversation somehow. My son was struggling in his relationship, needed advice, had been needing it for months. I'd been too busy building a company to notice I was losing my family. The heart attack gave me back what I'd traded away. But it came at a cost. I'm 58 now, 6 years since that Wednesday. I sold the company. Couldn't handle the stress anymore. Doctor's orders. I take 7 medications every day. I see my cardiologist every 3 months. I've had 2 more stents placed. My cholesterol is under control, but the damage is done. My heart is scarred. Literally. The tissue that died during the attack is gone, replaced by scar tissue that doesn't pump blood, doesn't do anything except remind me every day that I pushed too hard, ignored too many warnings, believed I was special enough to be exempt from basic human limitations. I wasn't, and neither are you. So let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about it. When was your last physical? When was the last time you actually rested? Not because you had to, but because you chose to. When's the last time you listened when your body said stop? Because here's what I learned on that office floor, chest splitting open, vision going dark. You're not special. Your body doesn't care how important you are, how much money you make, how many people depend on you. It has limits. And when you cross them, it doesn't negotiate. It just stops. I thought I was building a legacy. Turned out I was building a coffin. I thought rest was weakness. Turned out weakness was ignoring every warning sign until my body had to shut down to get my attention. I thought I had time. I didn't. None of us do. You can't outwork a heart attack. You can't hustle your way past mortality. You can't grind through chest pain and come out the other side stronger. That's not how bodies work. And by the time you learn that lesson, it might be too late. I got lucky. I survived. But survival isn't the same as recovery. I'll never be what I was. My heart is permanently damaged. I get winded going upstairs. I can't play with my grandkids the way I want to. I'll be on medication for the rest of my life, however long that is. The cardiologist says if I'm careful, I could make it to 70. Could, not will. Because the damage is done. So here's my question to you. What damage are you doing right now? What warnings are you ignoring? What pain are you pushing through because you think you have to? Because stopping feels like failure? Because you've convinced yourself you're different? You're not different. I wasn't different. And the price of finding that out is higher than you think. Take the sick day. Go to the doctor. Listen when your body whispers, because if you wait until it screams, you might not get another chance. I'm 58 years old. I survived a massive heart attack, and I'm telling you, you're not invincible. Neither was I. The difference is, I had to almost die to figure it out. You don't. So what are you going to do with that information?